Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. I think we'll do a little shorter stream today. If you're not familiar with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation project, go to soten.z.dev. That's what we're going to be doing, working on decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is a matching decompilation, which means we're going to be trying to write C code that produces exactly the same binaries that were on the disk originally. Excuse me, getting a spam call. Maybe one day I'll get a sponsor that will tell us all how to get rid of spam calls. But until then, let's get into it. On soten.z.dev, you'll find a link to all the progress that we've made on most of the overlays. We're not done. Going to GitHub will give you a little finer status. Hey, does it? Good to have you. And if you go down, you'll see progress on a bunch of these. We're working on NZ1, Clock Tower. I do have to rebase. I haven't done that recently. Might be nice to do. So I think we'll do that. And then we're going to look at the boss doors, which seems to have related data. And I'm not sure whether or not, I'm not sure whether or not boss doors is duplicated elsewhere. So we'll look at that a little bit as well. But let's get into it and see. So first I'm going to add all the work that we've been doing over the past couple days. I haven't checked any of that in. I haven't linted any of it. Less than I expected, but all of those files look correct, so I'm going to commit that. And then we'll do a rebase and see if there's any conflicts. I'm not sure if anybody else is working in this space. I haven't been on Discord for a while, so it's possible that we're not the only ones. It looks like entity is pretty common file to get conflicts in. So that's not too surprising. And usually what happens is, in this case, we're probably missing a typed up struct header at the top of our assuming. So we'll get rid of that, and then there's probably a marker as well down here where some other entity extensions were added. I don't know of a great way to resolve that. If you could do wildcard includes, we could put all these in their own header files and then do a wildcard include. That'd be neat, but I don't think it's something that any C compiler supports. So we're going to add this, and let's try building and see if that works. Holy moly, we're up to 3,500 files. That's quite a lot. While this is going, let's look at so we do have boss doors in a bunch of places, and it looks like there may or may not be some similarities, so we should look at the ARE boss doors. Our ARE is the reverse or inverse Castle's version of that same stage, so it makes sense that they would be there as well. And we should see if those are all the same, and if they are all the same, then we should just reuse those. No, you just need 3,500. Yeah, that'd be nice. That would be nice. So US built, no problem. The biggest risk, and I've mentioned this before, and I've just been lazy and not gotten to it. The biggest risk with rebasing and the build all target is that the build all target is not the default, and because of that, and it's not tested in CI at the moment, because of that, there can be regressions. The basically assets, if they conflict between different versions of the game, may be writing to files of the same name, and when that happens, you get a race condition with build all, and whatever the last version to write that asset is the winner, and if the other version hasn't compiled that asset yet, it's going to lose, and then the next time you compile it, it's not going to be extracted again because of the way the build system works, because nothing has changed, and then you're in trouble there too. So, but everything's fine, and we can continue the rebase. And that looks good. I'm gonna throw that up. It's definitely not ready to go. Let's do a format. We'll see what we got. Obviously, a lot was redone, which is nice. Let's run again and see if there's still issues to take care of. So there is one instance where create entity is getting past an int instead of the entity ID. We could fix that quickly. It's on line 903. Oh, entities, OVL export entities. There it is, and so we want E-explosion. The way that, it wouldn't be impossible, but the way that that linter works, it doesn't have much context. It knows just the line that it's looking at, and so it can't easily do that replacement for you. It doesn't know about overlays, it doesn't know anything like that, so it can't go find NZ1. There's no context, so it doesn't know that was included earlier, so there's just a bunch of stuff there that it doesn't know to make that replacement. Otherwise I would have written it to make that replacement. And which file is this in? I don't ever check in changes, or try not to check in changes for overlays that I'm not working on. Sometimes they break in weird and strange ways. Oh, these look good though. Look at all that code that I didn't have to write. That's nice. We're gonna build all again, and let's go look at so if this ends up going the way that I think it is, it's going to be a very different change, and I'm probably going to create a different branch and go at it a different way. But my assumption here is that boss doors is basically the same for every version of the game, and so we're going to look, or every stage, sorry. We're going to look at ARE's boss doors and compare them to our ARE. I know that's not true, because I see a difference right there. Oh, not get diff, just diff. So we do have actually quite a few. Some of these are going to be obvious, and thinking through it, it makes more sense. Some of them I wonder if we could get away with a simple macro. So what direction do the doors go? In the inverse castle, they're going to go the opposite direction. And so you have doors going up versus doors going down. And so do we have, I'm not sure if we have a flag yet for identifying the reverse castle versus the not reverse castle, but that would be good to know. minus minus versus plus plus. Again, we might be able to get away with a macro that acts as the sign. A condition here. That's interesting. And then a little bit more code. So these aren't quite the same. Could we handle it with conditional compilation? Let's see. So now what I want to do, I know that RARE, sorry, and ARE are different, possibly not in fundamental ways, but they are slightly different. So as we go through boss doors for NZ1, I want to see these should be close to, if not identical to, the ARE boss doors, and if so, we can extract that. And then if we do share those two implementations, we should do so in a way where we're thinking about the reverse version of those two, so we could share that as well. And neither of these, I don't think, are... oh, ARE might have a PSP version. Well, maybe they both do. Maybe these are compiled already for the PSP. So it could be PSP clean, which would be nice. But let's start at the top. Oh, the order is different. Well, that's not ideal. Boss door trigger is not even here. Okay, so this is just something that's in NZ1. And boss door helper. Maybe we should look at that one first, because maybe that's not even part of boss doors, but part of breakable bridge. Let's look at it in the assembly and see where it's referenced there. ASMUS STNZ1. Yeah, I don't think boss door helper is a boss door helper. I think it's related to the bridge. So we need to break those up as well. So I think breakable bridge, however, is not next to boss doors. So that's interesting as well. This might be a function related to Karasumen. All these possibilities, and we kind of have to rule out each one. So, breakable bridge and boss doors. If boss doors was immediately before Karasumen on the PSP, I would say yes, that's related. What I think is happening is either this boss door helper, it was originally in its own file, and it just happens to be in the same order, or this file wasn't dedicated to just the boss doors, but just miscellaneous functions that were in this stage. But it doesn't seem to be named appropriately, so we'll figure that out later. I do want to look at entity boss doors first, though, and see if it's similar to the NZ1, or sorry, the ARE. And then if it is, I think we'll try to figure out if we can unify the upside down or inverse version of the boss doors. There's a couple ways we could do this. We could do it with MIPS match. I don't think I have a good interface for doing that, though, which is a use case that should be supported. Basically, I have the symbol. Tell me if the contents exist the same way in any other file. Let's try this, and we'll see if it matches. And so we're going to go to decomp.me, PlayStation. This is the Symphony of the Night preset. And let's just do a quick review and see if this looks approximately like Entity Boss Door. So we start out case 0. We're initializing an entity, which is an environment entity. We have some checks for flag 100 and 200, and then setting a Z priority. And what do we have over here? Not anything quite the same. So this is not going to be the same as ARE's boss doors. And I guess that's okay. I'm a little bummed. I was hoping that they would be the same implementation, but you don't always get what you want. So let's start cleaning this up. We're going to get rid of any question marks we find. 91%, not too bad. Start cleaning up variables and things like that. There was kind of a neat thing. Well, I thought it was neat. And I like this style of declaration, and I just never think about it, especially because the vintage of GCC that we're using for this is so old that I'm never sure what features of the language. So anything in C89 or later, which is okay, like a modern-ish, should be supported. But if we look back at what whoever wrote this did, they put the static inside of the function, and this is still declared in, or sorry, it's still defined in the data section of the binary. But the scope of that variable then is limited to just that function, which is a nice way to program, I think. And I don't do it enough. If it was fresh in my own code, I probably would do things like that, except for static variables, because we don't code that way really anymore. But in the cases where we need it, I like to scope things down as closely as possible. And so I do think that was a nice way to go about doing that. Let's get rid of this. So we're incrementing and then breaking out of the function. And there's some variables that need to be renamed. It looks like we have a loop here. I think that was the only instance of that block. Nope, missed a few. Greater than equal to 13 is the same as greater than 12. and that is the same as decimal 18. And this could be an else if. I don't know if it is. It could be. We don't know this yet. So there's some things here. Now we have to treat this, because it's not the same as that other one. We have to treat it effectively as a fresh decomp. And so there's things that we don't know, and we won't know on the PlayStation version until we get to the PSP version. Like, is this being treated as a Boolean, or is it being actually compared to the numeric value 0? It depends what we see throughout. So we have another check against 0 here. So basically we have not 0 or 0. So that leads me to believe it's a Boolean. So I'm going to get rid of the explicit 0 check, because most of the time it's written as if it's a Boolean, even though we don't know yet what it is. And we'll figure that out. So cases like this where we have one or the other, my guess is that it's going to be a non-zero check for params. And then we're not going to be using a variable here. We're just going to be setting it directly. And that got us a little worse, so maybe not. But that actually compiles to the correct thing. I'm not sure where things got worse along the way, but we'll find out eventually. Let's see if we have any other temp v0s. We still do have temp v0s. There's going to be a I variable down here. We don't necessarily know this, so this is something interesting about GCC. We're going to do the same thing here. There's some interesting things that could be going on here as well, but I'll talk about this one first. So we have what looks like an I variable. We're going from 3, decrementing until as long as we're greater than or equal to 0. And we could flip this around. We could say I equals 0, and that's typically what we do. While I is less than 4, I think this is going to work out to be. And then I++ in our for loop. This could work out either way, and it's not obvious which way, at least not to me at the moment, which way it's going to work out to. My guess is that it will just be a standard for loop that starts at 0 and goes to 4, and for reasons that I never understand, GCC implements it as a negation instead of an addition. It's possible that there was hardware that, like, I don't know, because MIPS, as far as I know, every instruction executes in one clock cycle, so it's not like a decrement could be pipelined next to an increment or an addition. Likewise, this index, which I think is an index, is probably calculated in line as well. Let's start cleaning some of that up. I'm going to call var a2 underscore 2i. And we're going to make this a for loop. And I isn't used anywhere in the for loop. It's possible that it is. That would make... No, it still would work out. So we'd be doing I times 16. And then the whole thing times 2. To get our index here. The times 2, it comes from that foreground tiles are 16 bits. So that's implicit. So I think it's going to be var a1 underscore 2 plus I times 16. We'll see if that ends up working out or not. That might get us much further away. Yeah, it does. So we could go back and do the plus equals 16. And then just use that as an index and not use I at all. That's a little closer. We're getting the addition and the multiplication out of order. Because this is the wrong order. It's maybe happening up in the, yeah, there we go. It could be afterwards as well, but I'm going to stick it up there. Which way it's done is not really any concern of mine. Oh, Disick is saying var I times, var a1 underscore 2 plus I times 16. Let's try that. I'd be fine with that. No, it doesn't give me quite the same. Effectively, that's what it is. Which instructions generate better machine code? I think adding it manually, even though I feel like I've seen GCC do the correct thing there before, where it does convert it to an addition. So this is a kind of a funny code sharing optimization that GCC is doing. So if params is set and the offset let's fix that. I'll need to get rid of the second offset X up here. Oh yeah, Disick is suggesting maybe it's I starting with I equals 1, maybe. The way that it's written though here does generate the correct instructions, so I think that's correct. All right, so we have offset X, and then we're doing this weird thing. How many times do you take the result of a binary comparison, or in this case an arithmetic comparison, put it in a variable, and then do something else later? That doesn't happen very often, but GCC likes to do that as optimization. So we're going to take that, and if that was the case, we're going to destroy the entity. Otherwise, if offset X is less than X, if offset X is less than 8, we also are going to destroy entity. And we might even be able to get away with combining this all together into one condition. I don't know. We'll see. It isn't compiling exactly to what I want it to compile, but oh, where's my character? So I think logically this is probably correct, but it's not compiling to the same thing, so we can't treat it that way. Let's try this. I don't like it as much, and I guess it is. This isn't quite equivalent, is it? So 112. Definitely don't like this. So I have one of these out of order. So, yeah, this is inverted. Let's try it. Yeah, this is giving me too much. Slightly surprised that this is producing such different. Swap them around. Ooh. Ew. Really? Yeah. Yeah. The way the immediate sign less than immediate instruction works, the variable order and the the variable order and the immediate order don't matter because the instruction only takes them in one order. Oh, maybe I got them out of order? That's possible. Physics is saying potentially got them out of order. I think the order is right. This is just being negated. So, I mean, it should be the same as greater than equal to negate it. We're just getting a lot different instructions when that happens. Let's go back and look at what this was originally. Decomp.me is going a little slow today. Some other things, well, that is decomping. Oh, these are both not true. I need to do them both. Okay. And I'll fix the values later. All right. So that was that, and so we want greater or equal to is the same as greater than. And that's gonna be 256 plus 8. 264. Why 264? That's a weird number. Hey Roman, good to have you back. Oh, what part am I working on? So these are the boss doors going into Karsuman. Hey Matzella, good to have you. It should be Gravity Well. I know, I don't... Yeah, he's back today. Welcome back. It's been a long time. I hope everything's going well. We have another loop up here. I'm just seeing where we have issues. 51, probably an incorrect call for play sound effects. 51. Yeah, not a comma. There's a period there. We're actually pretty close to the way it is. Obviously, this is gross looking, so we're not going to leave it like this. Really? Sifa is Melted Copper 9247 says Trevor, Grant, and Sifa. So the Trevor sprite, is that the sprite, the NES sprite, where Alucard is thinking during the Maria cutscene? So Maria says that she's looking for Richter, and Alucard remembers a Belmont, but it's the Castlevania. Is it the Castlevania 3 Belmont? Am I remembering that correctly? Sifa I'm not familiar with, though. I'm looking this up. Oh, yes. Yes. The casket bosses, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. Melted Copper says Konami hates him by not releasing Symphony of the Night for anything but their blessed platforms. Don't they hate us all? We'll take care of that. So we looks like we probably have something similar here. We're dereferencing this bar. I have to do some pointer arithmetic here. It's possible that this is a struct of 8 bytes or 8 shorts. Do we know what it is? Looks like probably signed 16s, I'm guessing, an array. So we'll say this offset is 4 for now. Sifo is a white wizard revealed to be a lady, like Metroid at the end of 3. Am I hoping for a 3DO port? No. I mean, the 3DO is not anything that I care about, so no. This looks like it's going to be the same type of thing where we're... And we should probably just use var A1 for both of these. So I have 2 entities declared. I'm pretty surprised. So in Catacombs, this I do think will be I. Let me get rid of both of these. Who is the mini boss in Catacombs? I can't remember offhand. And Neo Geo is a myth. Well, Neo Geo could have been a myth. I have one, so I know that it at some point exists. Maybe it didn't exist in the 90s. Maybe somebody produced what we all believe to have existed in the 90s, sometime in the 2010s. I would go to Babbage's at the mall. Some of you had Electronics Boutique, I think. Babbage's was the same company. Babbage's, though, existed at all the places that I frequented at the time. So there's something odd going on. It's possible that this is being pulled up here, and then maybe we're doing a plus equals. For the pointer arithmetic. Not quite sure. I think I'm going to switch over to the PSP. And that should work out whatever's going on here. The PSP is very spoiling. It could be... This is actually inverted in a way from down here. In this case, params 6E and 6.1. In this case, param is the opposite. So it could be that maybe I screwed up the translation, but it doesn't do much. So I'll go to PSP. It is a foreground tile map. And I believe it's the index of what foreground tile to use. And so you're going to have a selection of tiles that's already in VRAM, and then you select them by index. All right, so let's go grab the PSP version. There's a bunch of kind of the low-level graphic stuff that I've never looked into, though. So I don't know exactly how the tiling works. Mozilla actually probably has a better idea. He's written a level editor and other things like that that would have to manipulate all those data structures. Mappings. We call them different things, maybe, than he's familiar with, though. So, not to put you on the spot, Mozilla. Yes. So Dizik's suggesting indexing into that variable, which I don't dislike. Melted Copper is I thought it was Werewolf and Minotaur R6. Thanks for reminding me, though. Melted Copper is reminding us that phones had codes. Very true. And yeah, many of them didn't have buttons. And they were mostly attached to the wall. I remember also, same mall, there was an AT&T store where you could buy your AT&T approved phone, because I think we still had to have AT&T hardware attached to our AT&T phone service. I'm not 100% sure that that was still the case, but I think it was, at least for a while. We did have an AT&T store. They had, sometime in the 90s, the AT&T store had a video phone, and it looked like something from Back to the Future 2. I thought that was pretty amazing. All right, so we're at 93%, and that section is the trouble section. What do you know? So it does look like var A3 is getting pulled out first as a variable. And because this is an array, we can get away with not using the subscript. And so now we have this 55 looking good. The check with params looks exactly like we expect. This does look like it is a plus equals 4. What order it's happening in, we'll see in a second. That looks like the right order. And yes, oh, of course. Of course. Why would I miss that? So the one thing we're missing, oh, it looks like we're just dereferencing this directly. We're not taking I. But we are incrementing here. The order is wrong. So this is probably happening here. We have another one. Oh, var A3 is getting incremented as well. And all of those are happening, I think, in this postscript. There we go. interesting, fun. Next one's on line 69. So here it looks like we're doing something similar on the PSP version that wasn't necessarily being done on the PlayStation version. The PlayStation, as far as I know, doesn't get rid of dead stores. So this kind of looks like we're repeating this, but never reading it. So I think we have the same logic here. We're not incrementing. Are we missing that? No, we're not missing that. Are we? Yeah, we were missing it. And we have the same, we have the same logic down here. So this is identical, and we're doing the increment as well. We're just never using that pointer. We aren't doing the increment. Never mind. Yeah, they probably are 3 quads, and we can go look at that data a little bit and see what they might be. Okay, so this is a dead store, and GCC will see that this is a dead store, and it should get rid of that code because it's all dead. And possibly we just have registers. Yep, just register issue. It may or may not be variable related. Let's call var a1 tile index and var a3 that's like the door tile map. Tile map with a little m. All right, so now based on this, is it obvious what order we should have these variables? The only thing that may be happening, it could be order related, so entity should be S2, and maybe it's just declared later on. That didn't seem to help. Is that the only one? No. 55 is door tile map. That's S3. Let's put that first, and there we go. I think that's it. So let's take this back to the PlayStation and see if that works. And unfortunately, this does seem like a very different... Yeah, that works. A very different function from the catacombs, which is a bummer. Okay, so I think This type of error makes it seem like I'm gonna check these out. That shouldn't affect anything. I think that there are still diff markers somehow. No. Oh, it's just those symbols missing, I guess. Strange. Okay, never mind. All right, so that's working. I do want to... What time is it? 1:13. I want to quickly look at that other function that's in there, which is not in ARE, but in NZ1, which is the misnamed boss door helper function. So we know that this is related to the breakable bridges. Let's see what it is. It's very short. M2C might be able to do this without our help. We'll see. Entropy Gravity Well says he slept for 10 hours yesterday. Man. It's rough. D2XD2. Something that'd be interesting if he did a summary about what happened in the repo since the last video. I give an update. Yes, I should. I don't think enough happens from video to video to do an update, but I feel like on Mondays maybe I should come in, or Thursdays, maybe the opposite. Come in and give an update. Because I do think that there could be some interest there. I really like how Dolphin does. Do they do a monthly or quarterly write-up? Whatever they do, I think they're kind of the epitome of how that should be done. I think they do a great job at it. All right, so we don't know the type coming in. Most likely the type is an entity. So I am gonna put a function signature into M2 or into the context, and then we'll have M2C give us a new diff. It's still not going to know what move entity is, and that's okay. R6 got the PS1 door to match. Awesome. Feel free to send over a link. The problem is I use chatbot. Don't use chatbot. I both say it jokingly and seriously. I really think that there are pretty significant legal implications to decompiling with a chatbot. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. I would advise against it. That's just me. I try to follow Electronic Frontier Foundation as well as Video Game History Foundation. They're doing a lot of work to make sure that we can keep doing things like this legally. And chatbots do not seem to be on that agenda. There's things that I feel like are valid uses that we should be able to do that we can't do. For example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5-ish physical copies of this game, and you might not have any physical copies of this game. So we're not in the same physical space. If I'm not using my physical copy, shouldn't I be able to let you borrow mine? I think so, but USPTO does not think so. And there's not really much we can do about that. And I guess for your own education and your own understanding, learning, using a chatbot's fine. You just can't share it with anybody else. At least that's how I read the law. That's how precedent is working out, for better or worse. So we're moving the door if the door is... no, this isn't the door. Actually, this is related to the bridge falling. Velocity x, this is the same as 0.25, a fixed 0.25. And so we're increasing, this is our gravitational velocity going down. Then we're computing our next position, and if that position is greater than 0, we're going to keep going. Otherwise, we're going to wait until we've hit the bottom, basically. So if we've not hit the bottom, I think I'm going to, if temp is greater than 0, let's say less than equal, and we'll do the side. And I think there might just be a missing variable. Temp A1 has no type declaration. Yeah. I didn't know if I wanted it, but I guess I do. This is going to be a sine 16. The parens here probably wasn't in the original. If it becomes an issue for order of operations, then we'll fix it. Oh, I can't type today. It is actually impressive that I agree, R6, that it is impressive that a chatbot did it. There is a decomp Discord, and what happened here? Did this refresh? And there are people talking about doing things like that. What is going on? This is wild. My editor is going crazy. This is one of those situations as well where just because it's easy, or just because it's short doesn't mean it's easy, and vice versa. Just because it's long doesn't mean it's hard. I was wrong, it looks like, about the branch. And I'm basing that off of the less than equal to 0, and we're generating greater equal to 0. Let's see. Let's go grab the PSP version. So I harp on the whole LLM thing a lot. My main concern is that I like doing this, and one day the ban hammer will come for decomp projects using LLMs, and my concern is that it will hurt more than just those projects. And I think it's only like, so Nintendo didn't go after the Super Mario 64 project. They went after them because they were distributing copyrighted assets. None of the code, all the code is still up. You can get all the code. They didn't ever ask for the code to be taken down. And there's lots of precedent to make sure that they could. Nintendo could sue anybody for anything, and they would squish you just by suing you whether or not you were right. But if you had the resources to fight back, they would lose, and they know that, and so they don't go after decomp projects. But if you said, not only am I decomping, I'm using AIs that were trained on other people's copyrighted works, now it becomes a mechanical translation. And mechanical translations are not protected by fair use or copyright. And now they do have a valid claim, and there's increasing precedent that won't be the case. Look at this. There's a loop here. What? No, this is not the same function. Is it? What? I don't think this is the same function. And so there's two possibilities here. It doesn't have anything to do with velocity, though. So I'm pretty sure it's not the same. Let's see if we can find it. We're looking for a function with move entity and current entity's velocity y. What I think happened was these functions were in order, and this kind of leads me to believe even more that this was in a separate file originally. And because these were unknown functions that came in a particular order, the script that does the naming of these things assumed that it was the same function. But I don't think it is, and I think that function is going to end up somewhere else, and we have to go find it. So I'm going to look for everything with move entity that hasn't been decompiled yet, at least not since I've cleaned. And we want, because of the name ordering, we actually might get a symbol that needs to be switched. So I'm not sure which one that is yet. So then we're going to look for... Oh, it could be as well. I didn't think about this. That the PSP implementation of the bridge parts is just very different. That doesn't seem right necessarily, but that could also be. We might not have G-current entity as a symbol on the PSP. Is that true? No, we must have it as a symbol. It's not common to use G-current entity as opposed to something else that comes in. Fleeman's check field collision Y. This function might not exist in the PSP. Okay, the other thing we can look for is this was related to the breakable bridge. And that is all done. Let's look at breakable bridge. I think that this is this function is not in the PSP. It's called drop bridge piece on the PSP. So this is drop bridge piece. So we have the weird. So this comment is wrong. It's just in the wrong spot. This is in a different file. Okay, so I'm out of time, so we'll deal with this later. Let's fix symbols first. And then I think I'll call it a day. So what happened was we have, there's some manual process and other things like that, but you make some assumptions based on the ordering of things and some other heuristics, some manual decisions. But basically, this function was called drop bridge piece. And where it falls in the file, in this overlay, is immediately before the breakable bridge functions. And so it was assumed that this was part of the breakable bridge file, but it looks like it's not. And this other function that's called boss door helper on the PSP is the drop bridge piece function. So we have to see if this ends up working. If we rename drop bridge piece to boss door helper then probably is a function that doesn't exist on the PSP, and that's the dead stripping that's talked about. So we don't have a PSP version of the function to help us necessarily. All right, so let's go do that. So we're going to go to STNZ1. We're going to look at the PSP version specifically, look at boss doors. I'm going to make a note here. And so I think that there's an unused function and it's static, so the PlayStation will dead strip it. Or sorry, the PSP will dead strip it. That's one of the optimizations that the PSP compiler does. I guess it's the linker that is able to do that. We're going to go into the symbols for the PSP version. And when you haven't decompiled yet and you're just choosing the symbol names for things, this is easy to do. You make some assumptions based on various things. So we need to call this what? We need to call it drop bridge piece. And I'm hoping that because these are in separate files that I can duplicate the symbol here, but this might end up being an issue. Let's try it and see. Oh, I will have to fix. No, I can't do that. So I have to exclude this one. I guess I could just take this comment here. So we have the correct symbol name now, and we don't have to differentiate there. And we'll see if it works. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Undefined reference to boss door helper. That did work. Well, that's good. So, yeah. That tells us a couple things, though. The drop bridge piece function probably is identical to... maybe not identical. Oh, it is identical because we were originally calling that... I don't know. I don't know if it's identical. Let's take it and find out. No. Yeah, I wouldn't have... I wouldn't have done this. It looks like X is being recomputed each time, so maybe just moving these down. I don't know. I'll come back and take a look at this later. Somewhat of a bummer, but we'll get back to it and figure out what's going on. It is good to know that that's the case. Unfortunately, for our boss door helper, we don't necessarily have another function to compare this to, and so we're going to have to do some other tricks to see if we can get this to work, and maybe I'll work on that a little bit offline and then come back and report what I found. But we've been decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and you can go to sun.z.dev to learn more, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Adios.